The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has suggested plans to increase credit to the agricultural sector by 10% over the next 2 years. He also stated that about $2 billion out of about $2.5 billion earmarked for key initiatives in the manufacturing, mining and agriculture services sectors had been disbursed to over 3 million farmers cultivating over 4.7 million hectares of arable land across 30 states of the Federation under ANCOR's Borrowers Program. He pointed out that the agricultural sector received almost 80% of that fund. According to Emefiele, the programs introduced by the CBN under this watch have helped farmers raise their yields dramatically and have contributed greatly to Nigeria's road towards food self-sufficiency. So let's make sense of this new CBN credit facility to farmers now. So bring in our guest, African Farmer Mogaji, CEO of Farm Credit Nigeria Limited. He joins us via the telephone now. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Just before we get into looking at the new credit scheme that the CBN is planning, let's do a bit of assessment of previous initiatives by the Central Bank of Nigeria, especially with regards to ANCOR's Borrowers Program. What's your take on that? How impactful has it been? How successful has it been?
Well, like I've always said, it's been the package, the initiative itself is a highly welcomed initiative, which is good. And I'm a fan of Mr. Emefiele because it's about the CBN governor. You see all the farms, trying to work things out. However, in terms of results, to be reject, basically, to look at what is working, what is not working, and repackage it. Because beyond the COVID, X-Men and co, food prices is going extremely higher. And according to one of the newspapers, they ejected an extra trillion naira. So 2021, 2022, food ought to be cheaper, but food is not cheaper. So something is not working. We're hearing what they are saying, but in the street, food is above 50 to 100%, as the case may be. So we want results. We want to see things. More funding has come in. It has not come out as more food. Can they show us more food?
Because according to him, he mentioned that under the ANCOR's Borrowers Program, about $2 billion out of $2.5 billion earmarked for that key initiatives in manufacturing, especially the agricultural sector, had been disbursed to over 3 million farmers, and that the agricultural sector received almost 80% of the total figure. Yet there are issues, like you said, with food scarcity, inflation, not being able to buy food, like you said earlier. So what is missing here, and how can we fix it?
So the same CBN talking about the billions of dollars that have been given to farmers. There's the same CBN going online in newspapers to say that farmers are not paying, they're taking them to court. So as long as money is being released, no doubt about that, you give it to them, money is being released, but monitoring and evaluation is what is not making the money come back. So if the money is not coming back, they need to vote more money to monitoring and evaluation, and also maybe even in the implementation plan that you would not be hearing Ministry of Agriculture in anything CBN talks about. You're not hearing Ministry of Water Resources. The CBN doesn't have the technical know-how with the capacity in the numbers to manage this nationally. So we need to see more collaboration for us to see these projects work. It's not enough to say we've moved from 3% to 6% and we're projecting 10%. Those are all good on paper. Do we have the mechanism? Have you brought the partners that can help you deliver that? If not, money will be released. It will not turn out to food, and the people will come back to say, hey, Mr. President is not doing anything. So they need to tell us the new things they are bringing on the table with this new funding that will not make the funding be like the previous ones.
But if you look at it, that figure also shows that over 4.7 million hectares of arable land across Nigeria has been cultivated. It means that we should have enough food by now. So how well do you think the country is maximizing this cultivated area? Because one wonders why there are still issues with sufficiency. No thanks to security, of course, in the Northeast. That's one issue. But apart from that, that couldn't have been the only challenge. Again, the question is, are we truly maximizing these cultivated areas?
So, I'm in the field. I'm a field person. And I have my ears to the ground in most of the states. Money is released. You give it to the CBN. As the farmers farming this land, who has monitored it? I'm in the field. The thing is that if we've cultivated 4.7 million hectares of the basic grains, cassava, and corn, we should have surplus. So it's either it's cultivated and a chunk of it is going to waste, which means that whatever they designed initially, they need to up the game with logistics, or the money and the inputs, mostly they release inputs. The input is released and the farmers are selling. Something is missing, we know in the field. They know, but do we have that will, to do what is needed? We can't cultivate 4.7 million of corn. Corn is the highest, rice is the highest, beans is the highest. Everything cannot be the highest at the same time, and we are still claiming we cultivated 4.7 million. We need to tell the truth to ourselves, come to the table, what is not working, what is working. But when we work, we need to bring the Ministry of Agriculture in, we need to bring the Ministry of Water Resources in, we need to bring the youth and development in. It should not be a CBN show. It should be our show. So until we bring that hour and willing to share the glory with everybody, it's not going to work, and we're not going to have food, and people are going to, really be upset and, tune to unrest. But we have a willing CBN governor. Can we have a structure that will deliver, that will, compensate its effort? That is something they need. They are the only ones that can do that now.
Two questions in one for you, from Amogaji. Yes, who should lead in this conversation, telling CBN, look, you need to carry the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Water Resources, alongside these projects and these initiatives you're starting. Then the second one is, of course, the new initiative now, which is increasing the credit facility from 3% to 6% in 2022. How further do you think this will impact the sector? And what difference is it bringing anyway?
Well, I have a challenge with increasing the funding this year because we're in a political year. The farmers themselves have a mindset that national cake. In an election year, politicians are very careful. Nobody wants to go and raise the farmers to say, pay your money back. It will turn out that the voting booth, they will pay for that. So if you're increasing it, they need to be funding small-scale new youth farmers who who are not used to, taking government infrastructure and incentives and not refunding. So we need to look out for a new set of farmers, in election year as against the old one. And yes, CBN can take the lead because they have the funding. Because they have the funding, they can take the lead, set the targets, the KPIs, and tell Ministry of Agriculture, you deliver this, everybody delivers this, or I'm not funding. They have the money, they dictate the piper. So bottom line is that they dictate the tune and the piper. So bottom line is CBN should take the lead, but they should allow partners to come in. And the NGOs also need to be part of it so that the monitoring and evaluation can be cheaper. And there also need to be a measure of more transparency where, they are partnering with organizations like yours to give us, just like they do the health COVID update, to give us, every fortnight update so that all the partners know that there's no place to hide. the farmers can call in. We need to have, radio lines. We need to have them talk on television because this is crucial. Our food security is our national security, and we need to begin to look at it that way.
How far or close are we to food security? The target we're setting for ourselves.
We are far. We are very far from food security, but it is achievable in a short while. In 6 months that we have fairly good rain, with the zeal of the CBN governor, and the zeal of Mr. President, we should deliver this thing. It's not, 6 months we can pick corn and rice and do very well at it. It's not rocket science, and it's doable.
It's doable. But let me ask you one question before I allow you to go. Some of these credit initiatives were not carried out in isolatory alone, or in isolation alone, but in partnership with some of the deposit money banks who serve as identification, risk appraisal, and distribution mechanism for this intervention as well. This perhaps is the new, one may say is the real winners here are the banks. So is it the new cash cow now for the banks as well?
It's not a cash cow for the banks. We have heirs in the banks also. The banks don't want to do anything funding with CBN because the banks are at a risk. The banks are thrown at a risk because they are the ones to go after the anchors, which are the people who hold the fund. So the banks don't have a full grip on them, and they don't have a full grip on how the money is given, which is also good, really, which is also good. I don't fault that. But what I'm saying now is that once the banks don't come to get this funding, the funding will not go out. So, yes, the CBN governor can speak from a position of passion and interest, but we turned it around such that the banks are not taking full risk. The farmers must take more risk also. So we just need to rejig this. The banks are still not willing because Agric is still not appealing, economically viable for them. But we need to de-risk it. That was what NISA was supposed to do, to de-risk this thing. Not for us to set up another microfinance, NISA microfinance, where you have banks in almost every local government across the country. So we take one step forward, 5 steps backwards. We don't need a NISA microfinance when we have banks that we are working with in every local government. I know this may be an unpleasant thing to say. Nobody wants to say this. My name is African Farmer. I care more about this sector, and I can take, the harrow for it, and it's okay. But we must speak the truth for this nation, to be food secure.